Hello everyone, this is Youssef Laaraj and welcome to this new lesson on how to write a synthesis. This lesson is made for CPGE students in Morocco and France, but university students also may find it useful. Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle leçon qui va vous montrer comment rédiger une synthèse en anglais. Cette leçon est destinée surtout pour les étudiants des classes préparatoires en France et au Maroc. So let's begin. The first question we have to answer is, what is a synthesis? Here are a couple of definitions which can help us understand what is a synthesis. A synthesis is the mixing of different ideas, influences or things to make a whole that is different or new. This is a very broad definition given by Cambridge Dictionary. We're not concerned with all of it, we're concerned with two main keywords: mixing and different ideas. So we mix different ideas. Let's move on. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the synthesis is a composition or combination of parts or elements so as to form a whole, more or less the same definition of the first one. So we compose something new, a new text, from the combination of different parts. A more specific definition is the following. In the synthesis, you take ideas from different sources, summarize them, and combine them into a new text. So here, the image is clear enough to tell us that the synthesis is a text that is made through summarizing and combining ideas from different sources. So the bottom line is, a synthesis is an essay that can be composed of 4 or 5 paragraphs in which you summarize ideas you've read or you deduced from different sources. We're going to see later the kinds of sources that you will be exposed to. Now, before we proceed, I'd like to draw your attention to something important. Actually, there are two trends, or you can say movements, of synthesis. There's one trend saying that the synthesis is explanatory. So explanatory synthesis is a synthesis whose aim is to get the readers understand the meaning of a topic or understand a topic. So its main goal is to explain. You explain the topic using the different sources objectively, so you must keep yourself distant, your objective. Another type of, or a second main type of synthesis is argumentative, whose main aim is to argue and to justify. So through evidence, you state your opinion, you make supporting ideas to back up your claim. Though the second looks to be a more plausible and convincing definition or type of synthesis, in the French exams they preferred the first one, which is explanatory. So most times, or they valorize if you just keep yourself objective to a great extent. However, the differences between them are not many. They follow the same steps, the same structure, just in the essence. You may find that in the question of the task, whether you must be objective or subjective. Now, what do we synthesize? What are the sources you'll find and you'll have to deal with? You have to synthesize a number of given documents addressing the same issue. we're talking about the same phenomenon or question or problem. These documents, they're divided mainly into 3 categories or genres. So the first one is newspaper articles, and this is the most common. So you will be exposed, or you will be given articles from different sources. And these articles are most of the times opinion articles, they're not news articles. And they're taken from credible and well-known sources like The Economist and New York Times, or The Guardian, and most likely they'll be addressing issues of current concern. Second time is iconography, which is any kind of ideas or message which is not written in words. So it's a different format of text, which can be a picture or a comic strip or a chart. Or a third but not common form is literature or creative writing, like poems and film dialogues. So all these documents, they should or they have to be addressing the same point, the same issue, the same problem. However, each one must be dealing with this issue in different ways or from a different perspective, or undertaken or endorsing a particular personal point of view. Now, to synthesize. To synthesize, you need to use a set of skills which are important or crucial. What are these skills? Skimming, a basic skill. You read through the documents you're given quickly to just get the main idea. This is called skimming. In the second reading, which takes longer time and in which you will be careful, it is called scanning. You read carefully and slowly to find specific information or detail that is important. A third but highly important skill is note-taking. As you read, you're taking notes of ideas which you think must be included or that are worth discussing in your text. A fourth skill is paraphrasing or reporting, which is repeating the main idea or the message set in different words in a very harmonious and simple way. So though paraphrasing and reporting are different things, but here I use them both as kind of a general reference to what you'll be doing, just restating what the authors of the different sources say. Analyzing, which is kind of reading slowly, different from scanning, however, but analyzing is trying to study the text in detail, to discover more, and to, as we say, to read between the lines what the author is trying to get to. Summarizing, I can dare to say that summarizing is the essence of synthesizing. So you cannot write a synthesis essay without summarizing. So as we've mentioned in the definitions, summarizing is crucial. So mainly synthesizing or writing synthesis essay is you summarize what different sources said, the main ideas in different sources, and you combine this summary into a logical sequence. Last but not least, compare and contrasting. Comparing and contrasting, as you all know, is trying to highlight or focus on similarities and differences between the ideas. As we said, the different works are tackling the same issue from different angles. So your objective or the challenge that you are facing is trying to find out the similarities and the differences. Then you have to mention them. You have to mention how the authors or the sources accord or disagree with each other concerning particular issues. Well, now let's see or look at some important differences, because the French exam, they're not, when you say the French exams, you must be careful, especially in preparation. Be careful about some important differences. So I will just summarize the differences in three main criteria. First, time. So for les écoles normales supérieures, you have 4 hours. For Centrale Supélec, 4 hours. For CCMP, or previously known as CCP, you will have 3 hours. However, we need to mention that the 4 hours you have in XNS, it's not given only for the synthesis essay. You have 2 tasks. You have to write a synthesis essay in addition to an opinion, or what we call a persuasive essay, which are 2 different independent tasks. The first or the second criterion is the number of documents. For the first, you'll have 4 documents in l'ENS. Most times, or always, you'll have 4 documents. For Centrale Supélec, you'll have 4 or 5. Sometimes you are given 4, sometimes 5. And for the last group, you'll have no less than 3. So you may have 3, you may have 4. So you can see that for l'ENS or CCS, dealing with 4 documents is very challenging. So you have to actually do very tough and good preparation. It's not easy to summarize, to discuss, and to combine ideas from different sources, from 4 to 5 sources. It's not just a question of competence, it's also a question of time. It's how to involve brilliant and skilled students. The last is the word limit, or the number of words you are allowed to write. So for XNS, you'll be asked to write from between 600 to 675 words, and for CCS you'll be asked to write around 500 words, and for CCP you will write 400 words. Of course, in any of the tests, at time a margin of 10%, the number of words are given, more or less. Now, practically, how are you going to write, or how are you going to go about writing a synthesis essay? So let me try to suggest a kind of what I see useful tips or strategies or steps that you have to follow. Now, before writing, this phase is highly important. It must be given the care and the time and the attention it deserves, because you are trying to gather, trying to assemble the ideas and trying to make an outline. Remember that an outline is highly important. So the structure is, the outline will give you a kind of useful organization of your text. So before writing, first make sure you read each document and take notes. So in this, you'll be using skimming and scanning and note-taking, maybe paraphrasing. Find and jot down the main ideas. So the main ideas, in the words of business, are the raw material you'll be working with. So try to find the main ideas. The main ideas, that mean the ideas that all the authors agree main ideas are the ideas which are you think are central in this issue, and they are worth discussing, they're worth addressing. Of course, different authors may have different or opposite points of views. Some of the articles or some of the sources may not even mention this idea. However, if you think it's important, it's mentioned by 2 authors or 3, it is worth discussing. And write supporting evidence and sub-arguments. So as you jot down the main ideas, try to find a couple of supporting evidence or supporting arguments or quotes that go in line with these ideas from the sources or from beyond the sources. Create an outline. As we said, creating an outline, it gives you a kind of clear dashboard you have to follow to finish or to carry out your essay in a very good way. Now, while writing, and this is important, now you have the raw material, you have the ideas all, you have the outline, you just need to write. Now, in every writing, as we said before, in writing an essay, this work, it must have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Now, in the introduction, introduce and contextualize the topic. Now, the topic is common among these sources. Try to introduce and contextualize. I mean, you say a couple of ideas, a couple of words, trying to say what is the circumstance or the conditions in which this topic has came to the surface. Present the source and the sources and the date of each document. So present the source and the date of each document. You'll have to say, after contextualizing the topic, that I have this source and this source and this source. When we say present the source, means the author and the journal, the magazine, or the book, the date of publication. This is your introduction. Now, in the body. In the body, as we said in the beginning, you have the main ideas. Address each idea in one paragraph. If you think it deserves less than one paragraph, it's okay, so you can move on to another idea in the same paragraph. However, you must ensure that you have a coherent and logical link. Refer to each document by its name. As you are stating the idea, say who said this and in which source. And this is the body. And of course, after each main idea, you back up with supporting statements from the different sources. You can use sometimes the direct speech, which means the original text of the author. Sometimes you can paraphrase by using reporting verbs like he argues, thinks, or believes. Now, in the conclusion, summarize the overall paper. Mention in brief, state the main ideas again. And then, if you think there is room for addressing any unanswered issues or questions, it's okay. Can go for it. This is the conclusion. Well, last, here are some rules, some important rules you have to bear in mind while you're proofreading or you're preparing your text to submit. Number 1, you're not given any permits, they're not given any aids. There are no dictionaries, no translators, so you have to rely fully on your competence, what you can do. So in this synthesis test, you'll know, or you're tested whether you're able to summarize, you're able to combine, you're able to discuss, you're able to go deep down into the ideas and not being very vague or superficial. So depend completely on your competence. Remember that you have to write a title. In most exams you'll be asked that clearly. You'll be asked to write a title. Respect the word limit. Of course, as we said before, you're given a margin of 10%, more or less. However, you must count the number of words you have written, and you have to write this number in the end after the essay. This, what I have just mentioned, indicates the number of words in the end. Try to be concise and to the point. Don't talk too vaguely, and don't be wordy or redundant. So try to be to the point. Say what is the idea, support it with a couple of supporting ideas or statements, and then pass on. Remember that all the documents must be treated equally. So you should not focus a lot or keep mentioning a particular source or document without or undermining the importance of the other. So all the documents, regardless of their source or their type, being the poem or a text or a thought, or they must be given equal share of importance. Be careful to the question. So you have to read the question very well. It clearly states the number of words you have to write, and whether you should be objective or subjective, and whether you have to, your synthesis should be centered around a particular point in that issue. Maintain, as we said, maintain objectivity or subjectivity. This is along the question, but as I say, in French exams, objectivity is favored a lot, but be careful again to the question and see whether they're asking you to support a particular statement, whether to show a particular point. Otherwise, you have to just summarize what the text said and how each one reacts or responds to the other, and to what extent they agree or disagree. Make sure that your citations are correct. When you're citing or you're saying a particular author said a particular point, you have to be careful with the spelling of the names and the accuracy of the dates, and so you must be very careful and attentive to this. Well, these are the references I've used to make this video, that I hope it would be very useful to you.